Hello again, welcome to my video lessons. In this video lesson today we will discuss the 5th chapter of the 3rd part of Gulliver's Travels, a novel prescribed by the CBSE for its 9th standard students. And in this chapter the writer tries to point out the ridiculousness of some scientific experiments carried out by scientists in the name of science, in the name of advancing society, in the name of doing good for the society. He wants to point out that these experiments are nothing but sheer wastage of public money and effort. And by illustrating these examples, by referring to these examples, we can prove we can verify how the writer ridicules and satires these experiments and the scientific community. When Gulliver, after staying a few days in Laputa, Gulliver is taken to the city of Lagado, to the Academy of Lagado, and going there he finds a number of scientists engaged in different scientific experiments. The first scientist he meets, he was trying to figure out a way to get sunlight out of cucumbers, an obviously useless and impossible experiment, and he was doing this at the expense of public money, and he was given a ration, a stock of cucumbers, so that he could carry on with his experiments. And after meeting this scientist, Gulliver went to the second scientist, and the second scientist was engaged in even more ridiculous experiment. He was trying to extract food out of human excreta, and he was trying to figure out a way how to make excreta useful so that we do not have any scarcity of food. And when Gulliver went to meet him, he could see that the scientist was covered in human excreta, and the whole room was stinking. And the scientist hugged Gulliver, and Gulliver felt very awkward and dirty because the scientist was full of human excreta, was completely dirty. Anyway, Gulliver immediately ran away out of this place, and unfortunately for him, he could not cover his nose also, because that would have been taken as an offense. And after meeting this scientist, Gulliver then goes to a different scientist, a different part of the academy. In that part, the scientists were engaged in figuring out a way how to make a building top down instead of building down up. We normally build a building by laying the foundation first, and on the top of the foundation we build a house up. But this scientist was trying to figure out a way how to make a house by building top down, and he said that this could be done because spiders can do this, and he was trying to learn from spiders so that they would never run out of space or land to build buildings. So another ridiculous experiment at the expense of the state, at the expense of public money, but they were still funded, pointing out the ridiculousness and stupidity of the experiment. And then Gulliver is taken to a different place, a different section of the academy, and in that department of the academy, some scientists were engaged in an experiment in which they tried to figure out the color of a figure out the color by smelling it. And some blind people were engaged in it. And when Gulliver went to that department, he could see that the experiment was not going well, that the experiment was not successful. And of course, it was obvious that the experiment would not be successful because they were trying to figure out the color just by the smell of it, which was an impossible idea. And then he goes to another department. In that department, some scientists were trying to figure out how to use spider web instead of using silkworm to make clothes. And he said that the spider webs were better and more easily available, and since they were easily available, it was more prudent, more economic, more beneficial to use them. And he was trying to figure out a way how to make them stronger, and he was trying to make them colorful by feeding them colorful food, which was another ridiculous idea of these ridiculous scientists. And then he goes to a different department, and in that department, one scientist was trying to change time, was trying to affect time with the help of a sundial. He was trying to do something so that he could change the movement, the rotation of the earth itself. A completely useless experiment at the expense of the state, at the expense of public money. And then he goes to another, finds a doctor in the academy, and in that doctor was trying to cure a dog by pumping air into his stomach through the anus. And after pumping air through the anus into his stomach, he would let out the air violently, and he thought that by doing this, he would be able to flush out all the waste and the toxins that were troubling his stomach. And Gulliver could see that the dog died after this experiment. Gulliver was taken there because he was complaining that he had a problem in his stomach, and he said that we have a doctor here. The guide said that we have a doctor here. You can go to him. He would cure you. And so Gulliver went there, and when he saw the experiment, when he saw the dog die, Gulliver immediately ran away out of the place. And then there is another experiment the writer describes. In this experiment, the scientists were trying to figure out a way how to teach mathematics to young people. They would write the formula on a wafer, which was it was a food grade. It was a food material. It was a food item, and they would write the formulae in the food and then make them eat it. And the patient, the subject, had to remain without food. He or she had to eat only bread and water for the following 3 days. And during these 3 days, the formula would, they thought, go up to the brain and then lodge itself in the brain and make the subject wise and intelligent. It will make them know the formulae. This was another experiment, ridiculous experiment, the writer describes in chapter 5. And through these ridiculous experiments, he points out how some scientists were wasting public money in the name of science, research, and development. Thank you.